Welcome back to another video, guys. We will do the open methods in this lesson, basically in this video. Before we did the bracketing method, we will do the open method now. But before we begin, I want to quickly show you Fiverr. You click the link in the description, the first link, it'll take you to a site called Fiverr. This is where you can hire any like tutor, project help, if you're a university student, you can hire pretty much anything, AI chatbots. You can do a hell of a lot of stuff in this actually. For relatively cheap prices. So yeah, I recommend it. And if you use my link, you can get 20% off. So there's a huge incentive. So let's start. Open methods. So the difference between open methods and bracketing methods, yeah, is that open methods don't have a lower bound and a upper bound specified. They only use a initial value as a starting point. Okay, very important. So in bracketing method, we had a upper bound and we had a lower bound, right? We had 12, 16, we had upper bound, lower bound. But when it comes to open methods, there are no bounds. Okay, it's just you give an estimate, okay, initial guess, and then it just converges or diverges based on your guess. Okay, so the first method, one of the methods, is simple fixed point iteration. So what you do is you have fx equal to 0. First you do that, then you rearrange for x, and then on the right hand side is basically g of x. Okay, on the left is x. So here's an example. So you have solve fx equals e to the power minus x. You rewrite this as x equals gx. Very important. This is the most important concept in this method. You have to rearrange for x. Okay, it can be any x, but look for the simplest x. Now you won't obviously rearrange for this x because it's gonna be a little tedious. Yeah, you can directly rearrange for this x. Okay, once you do this, basically initial guess here is 0. Okay, so you put 0 here. E to the power 0 is what? 1. Then that's your answer. Then you take this answer, you put it back in. E to the power 1 is what? 0.3679. E to the power 0.3679 is what? 0.69222. And you keep putting the answers back in until you get a low error. Your error has decreased below the stopping criteria, and then you can stop the iterations. So in this case we have stopped it at 0.55, but you can continue until some tolerance is reached. So some error has been reached. Okay, now the conditions are very important. This is very important. When you take the derivative gx, yeah, and you put the initial guess, you substitute it. If this value, okay, remember, convergence of the simple fixed point iteration method requires the derivative of g of x near the root. So you take the derivative of g of x and you substitute the initial guess, has a magnitude less than 1 if it's between -1 and 1. Okay, if it's between -1 and 1, so 0.5, 0.4, then it converges. But if it's greater than 1 or less than -1, then it's divergent. So if it's -2, if it's 2, if it's 3, it's divergent. It will not diverge. Another method is the Newton-Raphson method. This is very straightforward. F dash xi plus 1, this is the next value. This is the formula. Okay, this is the main formula. Just forget about this. This is the main formula. Okay, fx over f dash x xi minus, this is the main formula. Here's an example. Fx equals e to the power minus x minus x, employing an initial guess of x0 equals 0. So this is the initial guess. Remember, with open methods you always get an initial guess. Okay, so in this question we've been given f dash x, another simple problem. Now one thing you have to keep in mind is, for the sake of understanding, the problems here are easy, but in reality the application of these methods are used only for, it could be used for simple problems, but for complex nonlinear equations such as like sine, it like crazy stuff you can't derive analytically, you would need to approximate. Okay, so you just put fx and then put f dash x, simple, just use the formula, and then put 0, get the answer 0.555, whatever, 0.500, then put the answer again, then you get this, then you put this answer, and then you get this, then you put this, and then you get this. Again, that's pretty much it. For convergence, yeah. So sometimes it could converge, and sometimes it won't converge. Another method is the secant method. Now, the secant method is really important here when it comes to the Newton-Raphson. These two are interlinked. So the problem with Newton-Raphson, yeah, is you have to compute the derivative before you even start. Here we've been given the derivative, but the problem is sometimes if the equation is too complex, like, you know, ex, tan x, sec x, cosec, like crazy equations, yeah, how are you going to derive it? It's analytically impossible or very tedious to calculate the derivatives like that. Therefore, we invented a new method called the secant method, which basically approximates the derivative. Okay, it approximates the derivative using basically it's rise over run concept. Is just you calculate the slope and then it basically modifies the old equation. So you see the Newton-Raphson equation, fxi plus 1 and then xi minus fxi. You see this, yeah? It basically modifies it to this. It approximates the derivative. So here you have to calculate the derivative, but in the secant you don't have to calculate the derivative, you just use this. It's approximated the derivative. So it's an improved method. So the secant method is better than the Newton-Raphson method because it approximates the derivative rather than calculating it analytically. Okay, which can save a lot of time and computation for the computer. Here's another example. You just use the initial guesses, you substitute them, just keep subbing them, and you'll get the answer. And as it falls below a certain error percentage, well, then that is your root. And here's an example. Basically, this is the format. With like, bracketing methods and open methods, you have to arrange them in tables. Okay, make sure you put tables, and that's pretty much it, guys. That's it. And yeah, the most important part is when it comes to bracketing, you have an interval, and when it comes to open methods, you have no interval, you just have an initial guess. And you have three versions: simple fixed point iteration, Newton-Raphson, and the improved version of the Newton-Raphson, which is called the secant method. That's pretty much it, guys. I hope you liked the video, and remember to click the link in the description and you can hire pretty much any freelancer on Fiverr, okay, to do pretty much anything. It's a big deal, so don't miss out, and you can get 20% off. So there's a huge incentive right there. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day.